Welcome to Madison City Channel's Know Your Candidates interviews, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Marilyn Townsend, and I would like to introduce Gloria Reyes, running for Mayor of Madison. As we begin, I'd like to welcome you, and I'd like you to give an opening statement about the educational, vocational, and civic experience you have, which qualifies you for this office, and why you are running for mayor.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for having me on the show. Thank you, Marilyn, for interviewing me today. My name is Gloria Reyes, and I'm running to be your next mayor. I'm running because I care about this community. This community raised me. As a daughter of migrant farm workers, my parents moved to Madison during the Cesar Chavez movement. And I'm a proud product of the best Madison has to offer. I graduated from East High School. I went on to Madison College. I graduated from UW-Madison and later received my master's in public administration. I became a law enforcement officer because I wanted to change in building trust and relationships with our residents and law enforcement. And then later I was recruited to serve as deputy mayor for 5 years for the city of Madison. The voters then of Madison elected me to serve as the first Latina to serve on the Madison School Board. And then after a year appointed by my colleagues to serve as president. I then served as the CEO of Briar Patch Youth Services to ensure that young people had a safe place to go. And today, now I'm here in front of you and I've been drafted to run for mayor because of the people know that I care about this community. I care about attainable housing. I care about public safety and economic development. What's crazy is that housing is not attainable right now for our city residents. By the city's own data, more than half of the rental units in this city are not attainable for Black families. And that's wrong. That's why we need quality economic development. As mayor, I'm going to bring in businesses and grow our own to create quality, well-paying jobs so people can afford their mortgage payments and raise their families. But we can't raise our families when homicides have increased in the last 3 years by over 50%, from 4 to 10 each year. There were 700 incidents of motor vehicle thefts last year alone. And just as my parents marched with Cesar Chavez to fight for the rights of immigrants, I'm asking you to march with me to take action on building a local economy that works for everybody, building housing that's attainable for everybody, and creating an environment of public safety that protects everybody. Solving these challenges creates the Madison we're moving forward together for tomorrow. And I ask you to join me in moving Madison forward together. So thank you.
Thank you. What actions or programs would you propose or support to enhance public safety in Madison? And in particular, what is your position on the use of body cameras by Madison police officers?
Yeah, thank you, Marilyn, for that question. I really envision a city where all residents feel safe in their own neighborhoods, where children can play safely and walk to school without worrying about gun violence, where residents can walk their streets without worrying about burglaries and car thefts. I do support body cameras. I think we have to equip our police department with tools to ensure transparency and an opportunity to continue to improve the way we respond and interact with our communities, particularly our communities of color. I want to establish an Office of Violence Prevention within the mayor's office that will bring in public health experts, the Madison School District, Madison Police Department, and Dane County, and nonprofits and residents who are most impacted by crime to initiate a safe neighborhood plan that will include 3 to 5 actionable, innovative intervention and prevention strategies throughout the neighborhoods in this city. I want to really focus on gun violence. Oftentimes, when we talk about gun violence, we just talk about federal legislation, which I think is very important. But we have to have localized solutions on how to respond to gun violence. So group violence reduction strategies, really illegal gun trafficking and track gun case outcomes. provide, bring in our public health department and Madison Police Department and residents to do a homicide review commission to review homicides in the city and track trends that are occurring in our community. Increase the investment of Focused Interruption Coalition, which was an organization that I worked closely with in intervening during an increase in crime. And then an organization that a committee that I started, a community safety intervention team that I started when I was in the mayor's office, that we worked with Focused Interruption Coalition and responding to violence in our community. And then also work with service organizations on domestic violence and intimate partner violence. We have
Thank you. I'm sorry. Let me ask the next question. What do you see as the next right steps to address homelessness and housing security in Madison?
Yes, definitely. As mayor, I want to focus on our most vulnerable communities, our mothers and children who are living in motels, who are living in their cars. That will be my priority around homelessness, is moving our families out of homelessness by supporting housing first developments. This was a development that I was involved in when I was in the mayor's office, where we actually took 43 families who were homeless. And these, I would say 95% of the families were African-American mothers and children, off the street and into housing. And then it was a really a good opportunity for us to move them and sustain them into moving out of homelessness. So really that is something that I want to focus on. And I also want to bring in outside capital and developers to build more urgently. Build more housing density in our neighborhoods. And it's a definite need. I want to develop a mayor's housing affordability advisory team that will include realtors, developers, planning staff, and neighborhood associations to reinvigorate our neighborhood planning councils to really think outside the box of how neighborhoods want to be shaped into the future, knowing that we are in a housing crisis. And so I think it is about building more housing in our city, but is being very thoughtful and planful on the future of our neighborhoods in the city.
What do you see as the most important environmental issues the city needs to address? What will be your priorities for city action on these issues?
I think that we have to really think about environmental justice throughout our planning process. I mean, that goes from water, our lakes, where we develop. I'm really concerned about the development at the Oscar Mayer site. I want to ensure that we are not building on a land that has some environmental concerns. And so I want our environmental aspects to be mindful and planful throughout our developments and throughout our city. And so that's what I would do as mayor. Just like we focus on equity, I want to focus on environmental justice as well throughout our decisions.
What, if anything, do you think the city should be doing to support economic development?
We need to focus on growing our own. I think we have to bring in, we need to retain and grow and support economic development so that everybody is earning a living wage, and we retain our talent from our high schools and colleges and universities. Ensure that we're attracting, retaining jobs for people with a high school and associate's degree, maintaining talent around UW-Madison, and working with the local chambers to retain and grow and attract businesses here. Build an intentional school to workforce pipeline that puts students into technical colleges and guarantees a living wage, and intentionally leverage the city's economic development resources such as the CDA and block grants and Madison Development Corporation and community services to inspire the private sector and developers into action. And also leveraging the starting block for innovative new businesses which attract coastal capital in Madison.
Wow. What do you see as the most critical racial disparities that the city needs to address? And what would you propose to reduce those disparities?
I think we have so many racial disparities still throughout every area in education and the workforce and employment and housing. But I would say housing would be a huge racial equity concern. I think we have to move our Black families into home ownership to start building generational health. Less than 50% of our families, our Black families, own their own home. It's a huge disparity. And when you own your own home and you start building generational wealth, everything falls into play around education, economic development. I think safe, affordable housing for our Black and our most vulnerable families is really important. And we're building housing all over the city, but we're not building an intentional focus around Black, Latino, and Asian families into home ownership. And so I think that and also our seniors to ensure that they are able to stay in their homes and minimize the impact of property taxes. And so I think housing all around is one of the important things, but we have to focus on our most vulnerable and marginalized families.
What other priorities do you have for the next 4 years that we have not yet touched on?
Having public schools, education is the foundation of a city's success. There are two government entities, and I realize that, and I don't have no authority over our Madison schools, but I do have, as mayor, a responsibility to ensure that they're thriving in the success. So what I want to do as mayor around education is be a partner, a strong advocate for our public schools, to uplift and provide city resources so that they are successful inside and outside of school. You know, public safety around our schools is so important, and that is something that I will work directly with our Madison schools to ensure that our kids are safe in their schools and that we're prepared as a Madison Police Department, as a city, to help support their growth and ensure that we are increasing the amount of students who are coming out of schools that are well educated and prepared for the workforce.
What would you like to say to the viewing audience as we complete this interview?
Well, I think that, we had a great discussion today. We talked about a lot of important issues that affect everyone here in the city. I think the tenor of the discussion, we can see why I've been drafted to run for mayor. We know the urgency and that we need to invest in our local economy to make it work for everyone. We need to make sure that we build more attainable housing. We need to create an environment that is safe for everybody. We don't have that today, but together we can change that and move Madison forward. So I need you to be there. And that means right now, I need you to open your phone and share your campaign, our campaign with 3 people in your address book. I need you to invest in us and share and help us make our dream a reality. So vote for Gloria Reyes for Madison Mayor on February 21st and on April 4th. Thank you.
I want to thank Gloria Reyes for speaking with us and the viewing audience for taking the time to know your candidates. I want to remind everyone that primary election day is Tuesday, February 21st, and the general election is Tuesday, April 4th. As with every election, please vote. On behalf of Madison City Channel and the League of Women Voters of Dane County, thank you for joining us.